leave you this then. Yeah, a bit of an odd one. This one is I think it's a 2014, roughly, Miele Honeycomb Care w3214. That's why I'm saying it's 2014, I believe, because it's got the standard logos and it's not obviously a 5 series. Anyway, this comes with a 7 kilogram drum. It actually does have the bigger capacity 59 litre drum in there instead of the 54. So yes, that's correct. It can have 7 kilo, 1300 spin, and I believe this was the base model in the UK at the time. So this was the cheapest Miele on the market. But even so, I think this would have still been, I believe, it was priced at something like £569, and you could get it from John Lewis. So there was that. It would have come with a 2-year guarantee as standard, but more than likely it would have been an offer with a 5-year guarantee anyway. So, yeah. Right, oddly enough, this is a brushed motored Miele, but what's interesting, if I spin the drum, okay, so what I'm trying to do there is, what was weird is when I went to go view this at the auction room, like where everything else normally comes from, near enough, I opened up the tab at the bottom as normal to open the door and spin the drum to see what the drum was like. Well, the bearings and the spider was fine, and I spun the drum and then it instantly kind of locked up like a inverter motor. Right. And then since then it's never done it since. Yeah, so I wonder whether it was just down to the fact, you know, it was plugged in. Anyway, what's nice about this machine is that it kind of gives you some special programs alongside with all the normal temperatures that you would normally expect on a basic washing machine. It gives you basically 2 options to select from and 4 wash options altogether. So what more do you want? So behind the flap there we have our emergency door release, because of course this is electronic, so if there's a power outage and the door is still, if the door is shut and there's a power outage, the door will remain locked, unfortunately. And we have our drain filter, which is uniquely designed in such a way where the runoff obviously comes down here. So you put a bowl around here and use the flap to guide the water. It is a really good, effective filter. Take it out, clear it, whatever, put it back in, because it's at an angle as well. So usually when you open it, it should just about have no water to run off. But of course, if you... Right, and it's also under pressure too, so what will happen is if you have, if it's full of water, you can actually just undo it slightly and you'll have a good enough amount of pressure come out to drain it. So if the door is shut, to open it up you have to have power attached to the machine, switch the machine on and then press the door release to open it. And of course if you've got no power you have to do the emergency at the bottom there. Right, so we have, like I said before, 59 litre drum, giving us a 7 kilogram capacity with our honeycomb designed drum with small holes that both improve draining performance and reduce snagging. Again, we've got our solid metal door with a simple design of obviously holding the door glass in place using literally about 3 screws. It's that simple. Now there's our ratings plate up there. Gives you all the information you need, including obviously the fact it's 1300 spin. So it runs between 2.1 and 2.4 kilowatts depending on the voltage. So I believe that the heater, I think is anywhere up to 2 point. I think the heater is about 2.2 kilowatt, 2.25 kilowatts, something like that. Miele are one of the rare ones where they will change up the heater size depending on the application, and in quite a different range as well. So this obviously has like a 2.2 kilowatt, but you can buy like the commercial version of this machine, for example, if you wanted to, and like they start from 1950 watt and then they'll go up, and then you'll have 2 of them. Right, we've got our display at the top here with all our programs. On off button is here. So if we have it on the finish marker here, which is used to end a cycle, if we turn it on, obviously the light will always come up at anti-crease/finish. Any point you want to cancel a cycle whilst you're running a cycle, just simply turn it to finish, and after a few seconds it will then either go into drain if there's water, or just completely switch off if there's no water. Right, so we've got a total of 21 programs on the dial, separated into groups of cottons, minimum iron, delicates, woolens, and obviously specials. Right, turn to the right here. So the standard nominal time for cotton 90 is actually 2 hours 29, but we have suds cooling enabled, so that adds on 2 minutes to the time. That means suds cooling enabled means that at the end of the wash stage it will add cold water to cool down the hot water before it drains, but this still allows you to enable it within the secondary menu, whether you want it on or off. Of course, cottons allows you to wash up to 7 kilograms of cotton that is normal soiled. Of course, if it's heavily soiled, then you're going to be wanting to use either the soak or the pre-wash option, depending on what kind of heavily soiling you have. If it's light soiling, you want to use short. Let me show you. So soak, again, adds on half an hour, but that's what I programmed in. When you get the machine from factory, it will be preset to 2 hours, but you can adjust this within the hidden menu. You can have 2 hours, 1.5 hours, 1 hour, or half an hour. And what soak does is once it's filled with water and heated to 30, it will then tumble every I think it's either 5 or 10 minutes at 30 degrees before then continuing to heat. Obviously what pre-wash does, will do a short wash stage before the main wash at 30 degrees, ending with a short spin before going on to the main wash. Then we have short, and that just takes off a time amount. So it will normally delete a rinse and will also obviously shorten the wash stage of the wash. Right, what changed between this generation and previous generations is that short was naturally made for half a load of lightly soiled laundry. This time you can put in a full load because it has, of course, and it will adapt for a full load instead. It has a weight detection system built into it. Up to, I believe, 4 different levels. They have been for quite a long time on Miele's. So obviously, a quarter load or less, half load or less, 3/4 load less, and a full load less. And then it will adjust things like the water levels on the rinses and how long the main wash will last for. Stuff like that. So even with short, this time around we can use it with a full load. It's not saying that you should reduce it in any way. Right. Then we've got this option down here, Water Plus. Again, you can adjust this within the menu to do one of 3 different things. It will either increase the water level on both the main wash and the rinses, add an extra rinse, or add an extra rinse and increase the water level on the main wash and rinses. Yeah, and you can adjust that within the menu. Now, Water Plus to me should always be Water Plus. So it should always be high water level and an extra rinse. Anyway, so you have obviously normal temperatures of 90, 60, 40 and 30. So there you go, there's short for 30 and 40, which takes off 40 minutes. And for 60 and 90, the short takes off 20 minutes instead. These two temperatures, we've got the 60 and 40, and they both have a standard logo around it. Short will take off a whole hour on them. Right. You'll notice they're both just shy of 3 hours long. And what these do is wash at a slightly lower temperature for longer, and will also only do 2 rinses instead of 3, usually with even less water. And that is to achieve its energy rating. So it's made for washing with up to heavily soiled cotton laundry, but it will save you energy at the same time. This is why you can still add on options. Right, then you've got minimum iron at 60, 40, 30 and 20 degrees. Made for washing a half load of man-made fibres, polycotton, polyester, nylon, etc. Right, the 60 degree program is slightly longer because it will do a cool down at the end of the main wash to prevent excessive creasing. Right. Again, this program can take on all the options. So we've got obviously soak, pre-wash and short. So short will take off 25 minutes on all temperatures, and again you can have water plus as well. Right. Oh, I just thought I'd mention, I forgot to go through it actually. We've also got variable spin here, but what's quite interesting though is there's a little LED here that's not used, and it's also not in the manual either, interestingly. As in, like, this LED is missing in the manual. Got the right amount of LEDs in the manual, just there isn't anything there. Anyway, you've got variable spin, 1300, 900, 600, 400 RPM, rinse hold, and without spin. And then also, if I just show you on the cotton cycle, when you get to 600 and 400, the time will increase. Because what it will do is add on an extra rinse to compensate for the slower spin speed. Same without spin, it will add on an additional rinse to compensate the fact there's no intermediate spins. Right. Now, with minimum iron, it will say 1300, but minimum iron, it actually spins at only 1200 RPM. Right, then we obviously got separate rinse and slash starch. So it'll do one final rinse followed by a minimum iron final rinse, spin. It says 1300, so that means it'll only spin at 1200. Of course, you get on an extra rinse. Then we've got drain and spin. So have a spin speed selected, it will do a full length cotton spin. Select without spin and it will do drain only. It'll say 1 minute, it will drain for about 1 minute. If it needs to drain longer, it will drain for longer. Then we've got delicates at cold 30 or 40. Max load just 2 kilograms. So what it will do, it will wash in high water level for both the wash and the rinses, with a gentle wash action for stuff that's going to crease really easily, like curtains, etc. So it ends with a short spin at 600. We've even got short, and it'll take off 10 minutes off the wash. Just the wash though, it won't take off any rinses. Then we've got woolens at cold and 30 as well. Spin speed at 1200 RPM. There is no options for wool. Max load 2 kg. It washes at sort of like a medium level rather than a high watt level. It's always been like that a bit, and then but we'll do a very gentle action hand wash rhythm according to the manual. Then we've got the shirts program at 40 degrees. Again, made for washing 2 kilograms of shirts. So what this does, it's effectively a minimum iron program, but with a reduced creasing stage at the end. And that's what that does. Obviously, the program is also shorter. You can add on options and make it quicker. There's no water plus because it already washes in a high water level. Right, then we've got Express 20. Now, this allows you to wash 3 kilograms of lightly soiled laundry at 40 degrees with a full 1300 spin at the end of the cycle in just 20 minutes. It will use a low wash level and low water level, rinse level with a normal wash rhythm. The catch, it only does one rinse. And it doesn't even hit 40 either. It's just too short to hit 40. It will definitely go over 30 degrees though. I will give it that. Right. But it has a hidden option away. Right. Well, you can have water plus if you want. So you can add on that extra rinse if you want. And you can just turn off short and have a 30-minute express wash instead. Again, at 40 degrees, which will then hit 40 degrees happily, and we'll do 2 rinses instead with a 1300 spin. You can add on water plus and have a 3rd rinse. So at least there's a little bit more flexibility in that. We've got dark garments / denim, which will spin the final load at a 1200 RPM. Now, if you are washing dark garments, leave the spin as. If you're washing denim, just lower the spin to 900. Just simply because Miele do have dark denim and darks as separate programs, and the biggest difference between them is that dark garments will do intermediate spins and a faster final spin, whereas denim will not do intermediate spins and do a shorter 900 spin instead, normally. So what does this do then? Well, it compromises between both, effectively. It gives you the higher 1200 spin for darks, but it cancels the intermediate spins. So my advice to you would then to lower the spin from 1200 to 900 RPM if you're washing denim, and you've got the perfect denim program from Miele. Right. Again, you can also adjust whether you want to have a soak period, a pre-wash, or to knock off 10 minutes from your wash. Interestingly, the pre-wash is shorter than normal. Normally they add on around 26 minutes roughly. This time around it's only add on 15 minutes. I suspect the pre-wash on this cycle will actually only do it in cold water rather than a 30-degree pre-wash instead, and therefore making the pre-wash shorter. Then we've got Automatic Plus. Now this allows you to put in around 2/3 of the load, 5 kg, up to 5 kg of cottons and minimum iron. It does suggest though putting in the same colours in, if that makes sense. So I've put whites only in, darks only in. Why would you do that when you've got darks anyway? Or you know, normal coloured stuff, mixed coloured. Put it in. Mix the fabrics up if you want, cotton or minimum iron, and then what it will do will detect how much water is being absorbed, and then try and work out whether it is a cotton cycle or a minimum iron cycle more. If there's more cotton than there is minimum iron stuff in, right, it will then do a long 900 RPM spin at the end. If it thinks it's minimum iron, it will do a short 900 spin at the end. It will also adjust the wash rhythm accordingly. So there is a cotton rhythm, a normal rhythm, and a minimum iron rhythm, which is used on the shirts minimum iron. It will do between one of those three, depending on what is being washed. If it's predominantly cotton, and therefore near enough 5 kilogram load, it will do a cotton wash rhythm, followed by a long 900 spin. But if it thinks it's a happy mix of both, it will do the B rhythm, which then it will do a B rhythm, followed by usually also up in the water level on the rinsers, and then obviously shortening the final spin. And if it's predominantly a minimum iron program, it will do minimum iron effectively at 40 degrees. No options. You can change the final spin speed if you want, but you're still limited to 900. Then we've got finish. Now, let's have a go with finish. So, if you were to select a cycle, and then you selected the wrong cycle, you can go to finish. So it's automatically gone to drain and spin, just to finally drain it out if there's any water left, and then it will automatically go to anti-crease. I believe this doesn't have rapid advance though. Right. Another thing is once the cycle is finished, it will normally go to 0. If you want to reset it, you do have to turn it on and off again. But there is an auto on-off feature as well. So after the machine is finished and it has an automatic anti-crease stage, which you can open the door up at any point in that stage to obviously end and reset the cycle. But if it goes through that entire stage, it will automatically shut off. But then when you turn the machine back on, it will then actually completely reset the program. Now let me just test something. I don't think this has auto rapid advance. So what should happen normally is you press start. And as that's gone to main wash, you should be able to go to finish and then advance it to rinses and then advance it to spin. But it looks like this doesn't have it. Right there is your emergency key, as Miele calls it. And that is basically it's just a piece of yellow plastic to flip down that flap at the bottom, so you got access to the emergency door release and emergency. So you got access to the emergency door release. Right, so detergent dispenser is split into 3 compartments. If you select a pre-wash, you're going to have to put detergent into this compartment and this compartment as well. If you're selecting a normal wash as standard, just obviously put your main wash detergent in here. Right. So the pre-wash compartment will happily take around 250 ml. The main wash, it doesn't look it, but it'll take around 500 millilitres of powder. There's 50. Fabric softener is here. You have your max fill line literally to where this point starts here. You've got a line that actually runs on the inside here as well for your maximum. Looks very thin, but it goes quite a long way all the way back. In fact, let me just show you. So that is your drawer release, and yeah, that's how big the fabric softener compartment is. It's all that. In fact, if we take our easy and we'll put in 25mm, there's 25mm. Yeah, it's barely made a dent in there. So, fabric softener, I had to guess it'll probably take around 125mm. Right, cycle wise. Now, I could select automatic, but we're going to set 40. We're going to put on short. And just see what it does. Yeah, so what to give this Miele out of 10 then? Well, it's basic, it's simple, it's cheap. It's a bit of a hard one to say cheap. This was still though expensive. But considering it was a base level machine, yes, this was expensive for a base level machine. But even so, you kind of got a lot even back then as a base level machine. 1300 spin, 7 kilograms, and obviously even sort of semi-additional special programs. Whereas at the time when this was on sale, you would have had basic versions of the Bosch, which would have been a series, it would have been branded Series 4 by that point, so, you know, stuff like the Classics and the Max, and they were really only having 6 kilo, 1200 spin, much more noisy and motors. And obviously the likes of Indesit, which had their super slim depth in machines at 5 kilograms and 1000 spin. So even though this was still 500 odd quid, I think these came down towards 469, something like that, towards the end of the run, and even as low as 449, I think. Realistically, these are obviously quite a lot of money for a basic machine. However, they are worth it. So it's got the honeycomb drum. It's got a water control system. What that actually means is it doesn't have a WPS hose on it, but there's still an anti-flood sensor inside the machine, which will turn off the valves if it detects a flood, and also just go into drain mode as well. So it does have that. It's got the German build quality. It's extremely sturdy. It's still got enamel paint at this point, and it's the 3 Series, which is still very reliable. Okay, brush motor, but look how quiet it is. You know, Becker were obviously using DC cutters on their brush motors, which made them quiet too, but not as quiet as this. A lot of refinement, a lot of build quality, and just simply easy to use as well. And nice to use. Nice positivity from the buttons, for example. You know, and stuff like that. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. The only thing that would make this better is if they swapped the brushed motor to their inverter motor like they had on the Navitronic, but of course that's a more expensive motor. I'm going to put the price up. And obviously maybe a slightly higher spin. Having 1600 even on a base model like this would have made really good sense actually. But that also being said, you know, 1300 is still fast. It still gets stuff pretty dry, and even the honeycomb drum is there and it prevents all the creasing from happening. So yeah, I mean, realistically, as a base level machine for even if you're not into the colour, because this is obviously lily white, and so unfortunately it's not ice white like Indesit and all the other brands around, you know, on the market. It's got that slight creamy colour. It gives that sense of class, but unfortunately a lot of people will see this as just not white. However, if you were wanting something that was sturdy, reliable, and maybe you put it into a little, you know, utility room or a garage, which realistically is where this was going to end up anyway, rather than the kitchen, yeah, I'm absolutely, you should go out and, alright, maybe in 2014 go out and buy one. Obviously we're now 11 years down the line, it's still here, which is pretty cool. I do like it. Personally for me, obviously I prefer the Navitronic over all this, so that's just me. But obviously that's a 10, and always has been, because it's got more features and it goes faster spin. Having a 7 kilogram load on this, that's a nice touch on this, even as a base machine. Cool. Alright, hope you enjoyed the review. Don't forget to give me a like. Don't forget to comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe for more washing machine videos. And I'll see you lot in another video. So, bye for now.